Afternoon, all the socials and all of the viewers out there, both live viewers and viewers that are going to be viewing our replay of this very, very exciting interview. It's been a long time coming. Um, you guys have seen me on here, and I've interviewed 8 out of the 10 authors of Leading with Light, and one author that I've been dying to interview. We are just now finally coordinating. Like I said, it's been a long time coming, but I am so pleased to have on today Claire Emily Williamson, aka the millionaire Sha'woman, who wrote chapter 1 of Leading with Light. Welcome, Claire.
Hey, how you going, Jess?
I'm doing great. And I want you, if you could, tell our audience a little bit first about you and your coaching business, and then we're going to zero in and talk about that brilliant chapter you wrote.
Yes, so thank you. I am the millionaire Sha'woman, and I help light leaders to fully step into their light, to find radical expression, radical trust, radical shift in alignment. It's about making awakened wealth. So I believe that the journey of our business is such a beautiful opportunity to connect with all those parts of ourselves that we haven't yet freed into love, all of our insecurities, our doubts, our limiting beliefs. And it's so to grab hold of the next strategy and then avoid what you have been probably carrying around for lifetimes. Whereas I help light leaders to fully go into this stuff, the inner world. We take a journey that I call the Awakened Wealth Blueprint, 9 steps to really stepping into a level of income, impact, authority, leadership, but also expanded experience of life that feels like home.
Love it so very much. And I know you have been going gangbusters all year. You published a book of your own. You published the chapter in this book alongside a few of your clients who also were a part of Leading with Light. But thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. And I want to zero in on this chapter because from the moment I read your chapter far before we published Leading with Light, and was very awestruck because it had been an ongoing sort of debate and argument and the scuttle that's out there about how spiritual leaders shouldn't be charging large sums of money for the brilliance of their work, and they're supposed to give it away for free, and they're supposed to A, B, C, D, and Z. And sorry, listen, I'm taking on a little bit of British there. You hear that? Z. Anyway, but on and on with all of these rules that I think that rule book needs to be thrown out the window. And I love the chapter in terms of the fact that you actually start off the chapter with a very horrible email that you got from a person shaming you about taking on the title of Sha'woman, and on also in your desire to be a millionaire. Let's speak to that for a moment, shall we?
Let's start with the idea of how unspiritual it is to believe that money is anything other than energy, and that that energy would not flow towards every single person in abundance if they could find more abundance within themselves. I shared that message because for me it was nothing to do with the person that sent it. It
Right.
was to demonstrate a very indoctrinated belief that money is not available to all, and to show the power struggle that civilization has created to keep us ordered because of that sense that things will run out, that things are not ultimately infinitely available. And that is not the way of the universe. The way of the universe is to be constantly in expansion, to be constantly giving and receiving. But we're not giving and receiving, we're holding on. We hold on because we fear of running out. We're attached to these systems, these governments, these, powers that be, because we don't believe and trust ourselves. And that has been my journey. Is, it has come in phases. I think there was the phase of realizing I don't trust anything or anyone, and a lot of healing had to go into
Yeah.
restoring that trust. And then there was this beautiful phase of realizing, wow, there's spirit in everything, and I can trust a higher power. I can trust that I'm held. I can trust that I am divinely supported. And then there was this phase where I realized that I am the universe, that I am spirit, that we are all one. And it really comes down to giving. It really comes down to letting go of anything that stops you from fully experiencing every moment of your life, including your fear. And that's really what the chapter talks to, is fear and how we overcome fear. Because I believe fear is the thing that is stopping the full transition to a new earth where we are all, like I say, like an abundance and abundantly available, So
Yeah.
I go deep in that chapter. It took a lot to write it. It took way more to publish it, but I also believe that that's the journey of the book. That's the journey of sharing your story through a book. It's such a powerful way for you to meet yourself, to meet those blocks in expression, stand up, stand out for what you truly believe in.
Exactly. And it's funny, I spoke on a podcast earlier, Claire, and I was speaking about fear because that's a topic very near and dear to my own heart. Because in order to have any kind of expansion, we have to move through that fear. And in order to move through it, we have to acknowledge that it is there. But I also want to speak to something else that I think is a plague to spiritual entrepreneurs, and that is an ingrained inability to receive. And I bet you've seen it. I know we're getting juicy here. And I had this problem, so I understand. And I worked through it with a coach of mine in 2019 because I realized somehow my energy was pushing things away instead of calling them in. And I did a lot of work around my ability to receive. And even as recently, I worked a conference last week in Chicago area, and they were doing some door prizes. And this is just an example of how we're programmed as women to operate. They did a raffle, and they were pulling prizes for these various raffles of the sponsors of this event. And an individual won a prize and was excited and got up and collected it. Then her name was drawn again. She won a second prize. And instead of going up to get the prize and feeling like it was her lucky day, she said, well, shouldn't I'll give that back and you could draw again so somebody else can have a turn at this. And the the individual running the conference was like, that's not how this works. Like, you won. Take the second prize. It belongs to you. It's yours. But see, this is just like the programming is like, oh, I'll just have just enough over here, and I don't need much more. And let's, let everybody else take a turn. And I shouldn't claim what's mine because it's wrong and it's bad. And it's really been a burden on women in particular, in rejecting and refusing to claim and receive what is their rightful at whatever it is, and I see it and I'm like, I want to tamp it out in society. I want to shout from the rooftops that we need to be open to all that is going to flow towards us and be able and open to receiving it. So let me have you speak to that for a little bit. I know I've been I was on a soapbox, but I'm going to turn this over to you because I'd like to hear your take on this topic.
I mean, you're bringing tears. I think that this is profound, and it does go down to programming because, from the moment we are born, from every single angle in our life, we are shown that things run out, that things are unavailable past a certain point. And like I say, if you go to the laws of the universe, that is not true as long as everything is in circulation, as long as there is always a give and a receive. One of the things that happens with my clients, they always break through their income blocks. And then suddenly there's a self-sabotage. There is a, holy shit, this is, how am I going to do the same thing again next month? And all these fears come in. So, yes, I think it's a block to receive, but I also think there is this polarity within ourselves that believes that if we fully receive, we lose. We lose something.
What do you
There
think
is a
that's about, Sarah?
sacrifice.
What do you think that's about? What are people afraid of losing if they fully open up to receiving?
I mean, I think that's a great question. I think that it will definitely depend on your experiences through life. And like I said, the programming, the conditioning, the experiences that you've seen through, we between the ages of 0 to 7, everything is just, we are a sponge and we receive it as we see it. And so if there's this constant living out this pattern of there's not enough, you get it, you lose it, then you're going to believe to the depths of yourself that if you fully let go and you fully open up and you fully receive, that it's going to go, that there's going to be a dark end to that. Now, something I realize that involves us and how we trust ourselves. Because if we also lack trust in ourselves, then we don't trust ourselves to be part of the circulation, to give again. I say that to my clients, you receive the income, then you go out there and you give again. Because income is just a return on the value that you are putting out to the world. But if you sit in the fear of, how am I going to make that check again that month? How am I going to do that again? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be that? What if that happens? Then you're in that holding place. You're in the block. You are outside of spiritual law, which is circulation. But you're also outside of unity because, like I say, we are one. We are meant to thrive. We are meant to be in this beautiful circulation. We are meant to be giving and receiving all of the time. The sun comes up in the morning. The moon comes up at night. The sun goes down, the moon comes up. There's polarity everywhere. But what we do as humans is we project our shit onto that.
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Which was the power in your book, Jess. Like the minute that you came to me with that title, Leading with Light, something fucking weird happened in my sacral chakra. I was like, woof! Like we've got the serpent here stirring because we need to show an alternative message to what they're through school, through every single experience that you have when you're stuck on the treadmill of life, when you go into work every day, when you switch the television on, when you have not yet shattered the illusion of your reality that is created from belief systems that are not your truth. When you haven't yet become fully self-realized in terms of the power that you hold simply by being a human being, the ancient wisdom of the body, the divine connection that we have. When we start to activate this innate wisdom, you can only trust yourself. There is nothing outside of yourself. It's all one, Jess.
Absolutely. And it's an unlearning of all the programming and the ability to see things through a different lens and to see life as this abundant place. I've just been thinking so much about that. Just somebody asked me today what prosperity meant to me. And prosperity isn't even, it's an energy. It's not a number. It's not a figure in the bank. It's prosperity is just walking through life with that openness and that sense of wonder and possibility and that ability to receive. That's what creates prosperity. That's what creates abundance. And if people could just tap into that, and I know it's hard, but we've been so hammered over the head with lack and in our upbringings and just with the, like you said, with the media. And it's just such an unhealthy way to live in the scarcity and the fear. And I want to implore you right now, if you're out there and you're listening to this interview and you have fear that you're not acknowledging, that you're not bringing to the surface, that you're not confronting, that you're not accepting of, get some help. Let's move through it, because that is step one, is the ability to identify the fear, the ability to create an awareness that fear is what is holding you back. Oh man. Anyway,
No,
sorry.
ultimately, I mean, it's just a feeling. If you break down what prosperity is to you, it's a feeling, right? And everything is a feeling, and that's all we're ever seeking is a feeling, and we can create those feelings in the moment.
Yes.
But it takes going through all the feelings. I call them energetic armors that sit on top. You know, on Sunday, again, I might wobble here. I experienced one of those kind of like God walks in and just shatters your reality moments where everything that you know as it is, you know that it's not going to be that way going forward. And I woke up the next morning, and I go into ritual every morning with the sunrise, and I was lying in bed, and everything in my entire body felt allergic to getting out of bed and sitting in sacred space. You know, it's like every single cell in my body was just screaming at me, no way, Claire, don't you dare go and light that candle, because you're going to be forced to feel everything that you're feeling right now. All the fear, you know, all the grief, all of it. You're going to be forced to feel it. And I got myself up and I sat myself down and I lit my candle and I allowed these fears to come in, these feelings to come in. Because when we allow them to come in and we allow the body, the magnificent innate wisdom of the body to transmute, to shift, to move, to feel. It's like when you feel anger, it has a wave, it has a peak. You know, it peaks off. If you feel anxious, it peaks off, but you got to allow yourself to feel it, because when you can allow yourself to feel it, suddenly you are beyond it and you are into truth. And that's the thing, all of these wounds that have created our fears, that cause us to paint out a picture of how we go forward. Everything is created twice. It's created in the imagination first, right? So if you're painting a picture of how your world's going to be, it will be that way. But if you can go through these feelings and you can come to sacred space of consciousness where there is nothing, you are no one, there is no thing, then you can feel into your heart and you can paint the picture of what feels like truth to you. So you're right. This is a deep process of unlearning. I love how people call it unfucking yourself.
Right on.
No, it's like unlearn shit that you've learned. But I think the thing is that because we are multidimensional beings, we have lived through multiple lifetimes. We are also a collective. The shit that we're holding, it's not the fears that you know you have. It's not even the fears that you don't know you have. It's the fears that you don't know that you have, right? It is deep. It is collective. It is held. And it isn't until you start to allow yourself to be fully vulnerable to what you feel and explore it and allow its wisdom to come through you. You ever hear about the Atlanteans and the idea that they used to go to these cities, and each city had a purpose in terms of how they would learn to go through a certain emotion? And these cities are painted into or they're encoded into the tree of life, which is obviously these steps upwards towards divinity. Because if you can step through each emotion and bring its wisdom through, you are just going higher and higher and higher in your consciousness to a place where what you feel ultimately is unconditional love. That things can be however they are in the moment, doesn't move you anymore. That loving acceptance of this is how it is. This is how, and actually I trust myself. I trust myself to respond.
And this is actually a great moment to make an announcement. If you're watching this far, and you're vibing with any of what we're talking about at this moment, and you are a light leader that has a message to share, Just so you know, Leading with Light is not over. We did not just do a one and done. We have another volume that is in the works, and you can be a part of it if you reach out to Claire or myself. Again, you don't have to be a published author to be a part of this book. This can be your debut into the published author world. Think of also your chapter in this book as a legacy and also a calling card for your business, right? Lil has done such a beautiful job with us. She's actually given us PDFs of our individual chapter that we can give away on our website. We can do it as a download. We just got some amazing things happening with this. And I want you to think, chicken soup for the soul, only with light workers. That's what Leading with Light's going to be, because we want to have multiple volumes, and we're shifting into just a different way of being. And I've told you my story that I kept getting nagged in 2021. You're here for the new earth. You're here for the new earth. You're here for the new earth. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And I had to go on this soul searching journey to be like, what? Why are my guides like hammering me about being here for the new earth? And it's been fascinating. And I've been listening, to Dolores Cannon and some of these people that came before us. And it's like, oh wow. The spirit has already infiltrated people before us in these waves of who's here now to really raise the vibration and the frequency of the planet. And here we are. So grab a hold and join us. You can reach out to either Claire or myself. But Claire, back to the chapter, I do want you to talk about when you wrote that chapter, how shamanism will save the world. What impact, what takeaways did you want the readers to have with your chapter?
I wanted to obliterate this shit around money. For me, I connected recently with a past life, an Egyptian past life, where the way that civilization was ordered was around love. It was like there was this inexhaustible golden sun that constantly poured love, life, abundance upon the people because they had that pouring out of themselves. They were leaning into their passions. They were loving into the earth. They were giving. They were receiving. There was fun. There was playfulness. I can't even describe what this experience created within me. And I experienced how I was wrenched out of this loving leadership, and it was replaced by the power struggle that we see has run through to today. I began hearing the call of shamanism last year, and I didn't understand it. I didn't understand what I was experiencing. I didn't know who to talk to about it. I felt like I was going crazy. Roots were calling me home to take a path, to take a journey. And what I've learned as I've gone along this journey is it is all about fear. The shaman would go through rites of passage, and each one would overcome fear to the point where you are willing to die. You no longer fear death because you know that death is simply life. Life emerges from death, right?
Yeah.
And ultimately what is dying is the false ego, all those little eyes that fuck around with you all day and have your loop-de-loop record of all this shit you believe that has you separate from the universe. That shit shuts off and you start hearing and becoming and living truth. Aligned with divine will. It's almost like a completely giving up of yourself and saying, you know what? Whatever you have planned for me, I'm good with that. And I remember when we had the conversation the day I said to you, this is not just volume 1. Like, this is a fucking movement, Jess. Like,
We're doing this, right?
we're-
Yeah, we're gonna
I,
keep
I
moving
remember I'd done a
forward.
breath work and I'd seen volume 53 or something.
I was like,
I
whoa, yeah.
yeah. And I was like, the message you have, the intention you have behind this book is the most beautiful thing for the new earth. To wake people up to their illusions, shatter their reality as it is, that is simply a matrix that's been programmed in on purpose to keep that order in civilization, based on the belief that things will run out, and that's not true. So when I was writing my chapter, I wanted to show people, I wanted to obliterate these fucked up money beliefs
Mhm.
and wake people up to the opportunity of awakened wealth.
Right.
And second of all, I also wanted to take on the topic of shamanism, because I've received a lot of hate around that. Who do you think you are to study something that is, belongs to these different worlds? And where do you think they learned it? How do you think it became, their thing, their lineage? It came from the earth. And so, no,
Right.
I don't know what lineage of shamanism I am learning, because it's not a fucking role, it is not a fucking job, and it is not a fucking qualification. It is coming back to fucking spirit. It is learning to receive the wisdom of nature, of the earth. The idea that a tree, the kauri trees here in New Zealand, have stood for hundreds of years. Can you imagine the wisdom that that tree picks up about how to survive? That wisdom is available to all the loop-de-loop record off in our heads. And we start listening in that sacred space of consciousness that is so hard to get to because of the feelings that you feel, that tell you it's more important to do your washing up, look after the kids, take the garbage out, walk the dog, do the to-do list. Because that stuff makes you feel safe. But you have got to get so vulnerable that you are willing to die. You are willing to be that unsafe that you can fully start listening to the divine plan, to the divine wisdom that is encoded in the earth, that is encoded within your own body.
Love it, Claire. Yes, it's not, no, we don't need more separation by, oh, this is only for these people, or again, and that's what bothers me so much about religion. It's like, oh, we're the chosen ones, we're going to heaven, and all you out there that don't believe the way we do, it's straight to hell for you, mamacitas. No, I can't with that. Okay, I can't. It's like, we are all children of God. And it is an ever loving and ever present God that cares for us all. So I'm with you on that.
Which is within.
Yeah.
Which is within. And I think we've all got to remember that. We've all got to remember the truth of the power we hold, that is not the kind of power that has kept us alive, supposedly, which is forcing and manipulating and controlling everything, right?
Right.
It is a natural power, and it is so powerful. The idea that we can simply be and manifest from that place. My book, Awaken Your Miracle Frequency, that is what that means, is to come back to truth, to know that you can switch on this frequency within you that will attract everything that you want, without all the pushing, the controlling, the forcing. But it's going to require you to give up your fear. It's going to require you to start giving something as well. Not just expect, everything to come to you. You got to create the circulation, which means you got to get over your procrastination. You got to get over your excuses. You got to get over your justifications.
Right.
I ran a mystery school that goes into all of these things in, I think it was August or September. And I brought in a bunch of new clients, and all of them have broken through their income in the last few weeks, like the last 2 months, right?
Excellent.
But there was one that just couldn't get over her fear. And she left the program. And, a few years ago, I would have tried to control that. I would have tried to force her. I would have tried to convince her. But now I just let go because there is a line of willingness there, and it's called courage. It is that line that you meet where you're willing to get brave, you're willing to trust, you're willing to trust yourself. And actually, you're also willing for the worst to happen. You're willing for that bottom to fall out of your world because you actually trust that beyond it is something that's meant for you, right? That's you're never really going to die as your body screams is gonna happen. Everything is on divine purpose. There's a mantra that has kept me alive, I think, as I've gone through this journey, and that is everything is happening perfectly as it should.
Amen. Amen. Oh my gosh, I could just talk to you for hours, but I know we're on a timeline here, and
Oh
it
my
sounds
God,
like
yeah.
it has passed, so I have to let you go. But this is absolutely brilliant. If you don't have the book, get the book. Reach out to Claire or myself. You can get it on Amazon, but we prefer to sign a copy and get it to you if you're a friend of either Claire or myself. And if you're a writer with a message to share, please know we will be doing future volumes of Leading with Light. We're not stopping now.
Let's
Not-
be honest. We're making a volume right now. So
Yes.
I would make that call to action freaking clear. Like, this is a movement. You can be part of it. If you
Join
believe
us.
something like I believe something, if you have a story and it's powerful, even if you feel afraid to share, even if you feel afraid to stand in your light, standing in your light, becoming a lighthouse opens the path for others to start moving towards this new earth. I love that you heard that call of
Oh
the
yeah.
new earth as well.
It wouldn't
Lots
leave
of
me
people
alone,
are.
Claire. It was like hammering in my brain, and I'm like, "What is all this?" It was crazy. Anyway, we'll have to
Lots of
talk
people
about that
are.
some more offline at some point.
Lots of people are hearing that right now, but they're lost. They're confused. So your story can help them to move forward.
Oh boy, sorry. My guest has arrived. That's a perfect time to say thank you and say goodbye. And I appreciate you so much coming on and speaking to me. We'll be doing some more interviews and things like this. And once again, if you're interested in volume 2, please reach out to Claire or myself. And thanks so much for watching, Claire. Amazing job on the interview. And thank you so much for coming on with me today.
Love you. You're amazing.
Take care, love. Bye-bye.
Bye.